My name is Rosie, and I thought my life would become better after my father remarried. But I was wrong. I still remember the day my relationship with my stepmother began to change. At first, she acted kind. She smiled at me. She cooked my favorite meals. She told my father that she wanted to be a good mother to me. I believed her. My father believed her too. Our home felt peaceful in those days. My father worked at a small repair shop in town. I worked part-time at a bookstore while studying English at a local college. Life was not perfect, but it felt calm. Every evening, we ate dinner together. My father laughed often. I laughed too. Sometimes we watched old movies together in the living room. Sometimes we talked late at night about dreams and future plans. I wanted to become a teacher one day. My father always smiled when I talked about it. "You are smart, Rosie," he told me many times. "Your future will be bright." Those words stayed in my heart. But slowly, everything began to change. After my father married my stepmother, Linda, the house felt different. At first, the changes were small, very small. She started asking strange questions. "Why do you come home late? Who are you texting? Why do you spend so much time outside?" Her voice sounded sweet, but something felt cold behind her smile. At first, I ignored the signs. I told myself that she only cared about me. But something felt different. Very different. One evening, I came home from work feeling tired. I walked into the kitchen and saw Linda speaking quietly to my father. The moment she saw me, she stopped talking. The room became silent. I hated that silence. My father looked uncomfortable. Linda smiled at me again, but her smile looked fake. "Rosie," she said softly, "you should spend more time helping at home." I nodded quietly. Things became worse after that. She complained about everything I did. If I washed the dishes, she said they were still dirty. If I cleaned the living room, she said I missed a spot. If I stayed in my room, she called me lazy. No matter what I did, it was never enough. I missed the old days. I missed my father's laughter. But even my father began changing. He looked tired all the time. He spoke less. Sometimes he avoided eye contact with me. Sometimes he stayed quiet during dinner, while Linda spoke for both of them. I felt alone. One night, I heard them arguing behind their bedroom door. "She is old enough now," Linda whispered harshly. "She still needs time," my father answered quietly. "We cannot keep supporting her forever." I stood frozen outside the hallway. My chest hurt. I did not understand what they meant. The next morning, nobody mentioned the argument. Life continued as if nothing happened. But something inside me felt afraid. Days passed slowly. Linda became colder toward me. Sometimes she looked at me with anger for no reason. Sometimes she compared me to other girls. "Girls your age are already married," she said one afternoon while folding clothes. I looked up in surprise. Married? She nodded. Yes. A woman should think about family, not childish dreams. Her words hurt me deeply. I tried to laugh nervously. I still want to finish school first. Her face immediately became cold. School does not feed families, she replied. That night, I could not sleep. Something felt wrong. Very wrong. A week later, Linda invited strangers to our house for dinner. A man and his mother arrived in an expensive car. The man looked older than me, maybe 35 years old. His name was Daniel. He barely smiled. His mother looked at me carefully, from head to toe. I felt uncomfortable immediately. During dinner, Linda forced me to sit beside Daniel. She kept smiling proudly. Rosie is very hard-working, she told them. She can cook, clean, and take care of a home. I looked at my father. He avoided my eyes. Fear slowly entered my heart. After dinner, Linda asked me to bring tea into the living room. When I entered, everybody suddenly became quiet again. I hated that silence. Then Daniel's mother smiled at me. "You are very beautiful," she said. My hands started shaking. I placed the tea carefully on the table. Then Linda said the words that changed my life. "We believe Rosie and Daniel would make a wonderful couple." My heart stopped. I stared at her in shock. What? Linda continued smiling. "Daniel owns a successful business. He can provide a good life." I looked at my father desperately. "Dad?" But he stayed silent. That silence broke my heart more than anything else. I stood up quickly. "I don't want this," I whispered. Linda's face became hard immediately. "Sit down," she ordered quietly. "No," I answered. Then I walked away. My hands were shaking badly. I locked myself inside my room and cried for hours. Why was this happening? Why was my father allowing this? The next morning, Linda entered my room without knocking. "You embarrassed us yesterday," she said coldly. "I said I don't want to marry him." "You are being selfish." I stared at her in disbelief. Selfish? Yes. Daniel can help this family financially. Finally, the truth started becoming clear. Money. This was about money. I looked at her with tears in my eyes. "You want to sell me?" Her expression darkened immediately. "Watch your words, Rosie." But I could already see the truth. She did not care about my happiness. She only cared about what she could gain. That evening, I finally confronted my father alone in the backyard. "Why are you doing this to me?" I asked softly. He looked exhausted. "It's complicated." "No," I said through tears. "It's simple. I don't want this marriage." He rubbed his face tiredly. "We have debts, Rosie." I froze. "Debts?" He nodded slowly. "The repair shop is failing. We owe money." I suddenly understood everything. Linda had been planning this for months. I felt sick. "But marrying me to a stranger won't solve anything." My father looked away. "Daniel promised to help us." I could not believe what I was hearing. "Dad, I'm your daughter!" He closed his eyes painfully. "I know." That answer destroyed me. For the first time in my life, I felt completely alone. The following weeks became unbearable. Linda pressured me every single day. She talked constantly about marriage, about responsibility, about sacrifice. She stopped hiding her anger. "You should be grateful," she snapped one morning. "Many girls would dream of this opportunity." But I did not want money. I did not want a rich husband. I wanted freedom. I wanted my life. I started spending longer hours outside the house. Sometimes I stayed late at the bookstore just to avoid going home. One evening, my friend Emma noticed my swollen eyes. "What's wrong?" she asked gently. At first, I stayed quiet. Then, suddenly, everything poured out of me. The forced marriage, the pressure, the arguments, the fear. Emma listened silently. When I finished speaking, she looked horrified. "Rosie, this is not okay." Tears filled my eyes again. "I know." "Then leave." Her words shocked me. "Leave?" "Yes, stay with me for a while." I wanted to say yes immediately, but fear stopped me. I still loved my father, even after everything. I kept hoping he would change his mind. I kept hoping he would protect me. But days passed, and nothing changed. Instead, the pressure became stronger. One night, Linda entered my room holding a wedding magazine. "The ceremony should happen next month," she said casually. I stared at her in horror. "You already planned it?" "Of course." My breathing became heavy. "You never even asked me." She crossed her arms. "Sometimes parents must make difficult decisions." "You are not my mother," I whispered angrily. Her face became red with fury. Then, suddenly, she slapped me. The sound echoed through the room. I stood frozen. My cheek burned painfully. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she pointed at me with shaking anger. "You will marry Daniel," she hissed, "whether you like it or not." Tears filled my eyes instantly. I had never felt so trapped before. That night, I cried silently into my pillow. I missed my old life so much. I missed feeling safe. I missed feeling loved. The next morning, my father noticed the mark on my face. "What happened?" he asked quietly. I looked at him for a long moment. He already knew. I could see it in his eyes. but he was afraid to admit it. "Nothing," I answered weakly. His shoulders dropped heavily. That silence hurt me again. Every silence hurt me. Days later, Daniel visited the house alone. Linda purposely left us together in the living room. The room felt painfully awkward. Daniel sat quietly for a long time before finally speaking. "You don't want this marriage." It was not a question. I looked at him carefully. "No." He nodded slowly. "I understand." That surprised me. For the first time, I saw sadness in his eyes. Then he sighed deeply. My mother pressured me too. I blinked in confusion. "What?" He leaned back tiredly. "She believes marriage will improve my image for business." I stared at him silently. Suddenly, everything felt more complicated. "You don't love me either?" I asked softly. A small, sad smile appeared on his face. "We barely know each other." For the first time in months, somebody finally spoke honestly to me. That honesty almost made me cry. Daniel looked down at his hands. "I lost someone 2 years ago," he admitted quietly. "After that, I buried myself in work." His voice sounded lonely, very lonely. I suddenly realized he was trapped too. Different prison, same pain. "I'm sorry," I whispered. He nodded quietly. Then he looked at me seriously. "You should fight for your future, Rosie." His words shocked me. "You're telling me not to marry you?" "Yes." I stared at him in disbelief.
"But your family—"
"I'll handle my family." For the first time in many weeks, I felt a small light inside my heart. Hope. Real hope. That night, I finally made a decision. I packed a small bag quietly. Then I wrote a short letter to my father. "I love you, but I cannot live like this anymore." My hands shook while writing. Tears fell onto the paper. Before sunrise, I quietly left the house. My heart pounded loudly while walking down the empty street. I was terrified, but I also felt free for the first time in months. Emma welcomed me into her apartment immediately. "You're safe here," she whispered. I nearly cried again hearing those words. Safe. I had missed that feeling, but the peace did not last long. 3 days later, my father called me. Over and over again. At first, I ignored the calls. Then finally, I answered. "Rosie," he said weakly, "please come home." I closed my eyes painfully. "No. Please." His voice sounded broken. "I can't do this anymore, Dad. Silence filled the phone. Then suddenly, he started crying quietly. I had not heard my father cry since childhood. My chest tightened painfully. "I failed you," he whispered. Tears rolled down my face instantly. Part of me still wanted to run back home. Part of me still wanted my old father. The father who protected me. The father who believed in my dreams. Then he said something that shocked me. Linda left. I froze. What? She took money from our account and disappeared. I could barely breathe. Everything suddenly became clear. The pressure, the marriage, the money. It had never been about family. It had been manipulation. My father sounded completely destroyed. "I was stupid," he whispered painfully. "No," I answered softly through tears. "You were lonely." Long silence followed. Then he finally admitted the truth. "After my mother died years earlier, he became afraid of being alone. Linda gave him comfort during his weakest time. Slowly, she gained control over everything. Money, decisions, the house, even him. I thought I was fixing our family," he said weakly. "But I only hurt you." I cried silently after hearing those words, because deep inside, I knew he never truly wanted to lose me. He was simply weak, and weakness can destroy people. A week later, I finally returned home to see him. The house looked empty now. Quiet. Sad. My father looked older than before. Much older. When he saw me standing at the door, tears filled his eyes immediately. "I'm sorry," he whispered. I started crying too. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then he hugged me tightly. "I'm so sorry, Rosie." Years of pain seemed to break inside both of us at once. We cried together in silence. That silence finally felt honest. Not cold. Not painful. Just honest. Over the next few months, life slowly began changing again. My father started therapy for his emotional struggles. He also sold the repair shop and found smaller work nearby. Money was still difficult, but the house finally felt peaceful again. I returned to school. I started smiling more. Little by little, I began healing. One evening, my father sat beside me during dinner. "You still want to become a teacher?" he asked softly. I smiled for the first time in a long while. "Yes." He nodded proudly. "Then don't give up." Those words healed something inside me. Months later, Daniel contacted me one final time. He wanted to thank me. Seeing your courage changed my life too, he admitted. He finally stood up against his family's pressure. He even left the business world for a while to focus on himself. I felt happy hearing that.
Sometimes people save each other without realizing it.
Now, when I think about those painful months, I still feel sadness, but I also feel stronger. I learned something important. Love without honesty becomes dangerous. Silence can destroy families. Fear can control people. And communication can save relationships before it is too late. My father and I are still healing. Some wounds take time, but now we speak honestly. Now we listen. And now we understand each other better than before. Sometimes painful truth is better than comfortable silence, because silence nearly destroyed our family forever. Thank you for listening. Subscribe for more emotional stories. Keep learning English with stories.